Chapter 9. Agenda 2030 and Action Agenda 2030 is a program being rolled out by the UN, United Nations, which claims to be a series of planned development goals for the future of our society that will make the world a more inclusive and sustainable place for everyone. With goals like no poverty, zero hunger, affordable and clean energy, and many others, the basic surface idea is that a move is being made to make the world a better place for everyone. I want this to be a short chapter, but it is important that the reader is aware of Agenda 2030 because you will see it becoming more obvious in your daily life every month leading up to 2030. From reducing the ability of farmers to use certain amounts of fertilizer, to making it more expensive for you to drive, to making the meat you purchase more and more expensive. You're going to see changes in your life that are a direct result of this program. What it basically is going to accomplish is that people from all countries will be on a more even playing field. Now this sounds like a great plan, right? Well, one problem. That doesn't mean only that people with a lower quality of life will improve their quality of life. What it means is that people like you and me, from Canada or the westernized first world countries, will be forced to live in a way that decreases our quality of life. For example, things like driving a car will soon potentially be a treat and not an everyday thing. How can this be done? Well, picture gas at $20 or more per liter, or another example is your ability to get certain foods like meat will be reduced. We see now the truckers in the Netherlands protesting the recent government changes to the amounts of fertilizer that farmers will be allowed to use, and the exact same thing is now happening in Canada. This move, combined with the rising gas prices, will eventually make food production so expensive for the farmers that it will not be profitable. As we see in the Netherlands, the government are offering farmers one-time payments to buy out their land while simultaneously making their lives harder, if not impossible, each day. Some of these objectives may seem noble on the surface. There is a good argument that we can't use gas-powered vehicles forever, but the question not being asked is, what system are we going to switch to? There is no plan in place to replace every vehicle on the planet with an electric vehicle. What about the trucks that will be delivering the food? You see my point. They are basically systematically crashing our way of life piece by piece and not offering a replacement system, which in itself says that something much bigger and different is being planned for that time period. What it looks like is that hard assets are being bought up. An example of this is the massive corporation in the United States named BlackRock, which is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, investment management corporations in the world with $10 trillion in assets as of 2022. BlackRock is buying basically every single family home they can find right now, even going as far as to offer 20 to 50% above asking prices to guarantee the sale. Now, with this level of wealth, what is happening is that buying a home for the average person just became that much harder. If you can only pay $600,000 for a new home and BlackRock is willing to pay $1 million for the same home, you can bet your ass that the homeowner is going to sell to BlackRock. So the end result is going to be a much larger renter class in the future, where it is nearly impossible for everyone but the ultra-wealthy to own homes. So again, we see hard assets being bought up here, similar to the farmland by Bill Gates and others, including the Dutch government. What this looks like is a potential expectance that the dollar could collapse or be reduced greatly in coming years, which, if that happens, would leave the rich even more ultra-rich with the hard assets they acquired prior to the crash, and the general public now holding the bag of useless reduced value currency while having their farmland/homes bought out with what is now devalued currency. This is, in my opinion, what Agenda 2030 is really about. Although it stands behind a very flowery and increased equity for all cover, what it really is about is making an even bigger separation between the haves and the have-nots. A perfect example was during the COVID-19 lockdowns. Walmart was doing record numbers while small businesses were going bankrupt. McDonald's was doing amazing while the local diner had to stay closed. That is the future the elites are looking for, an extreme separation, even more than today, where normal, everyday people like me and you will use less resources and be in a situation where we are forced to rent a home from them instead of own our house, where we will be eating much less meat because it will be so expensive, and where even the semi-wealthy will be using apps to track the amount of gasoline used or how much electricity your air conditioner is using. So what is being disguised as Agenda 2030? To help the planet and equality for all is actually about making your quality of life worse and taking away your ability to use resources while at the same time increasing the profits to the ultra-wealthy and protecting resources for them. See, they will still be flying in their private jets and eating meat whenever they want, of course. Their quality of life will not change, yours will. So be careful before you get manipulated into thinking, oh, well, they're doing it for our own good. The climate is changing. That type of thinking is very dangerous and will get you killed. We saw much of that during the COVID-19 lockdowns and vaccinations. Well, they should lock us down. It's for our own good. Well, we should all be forced to get vaccines. It's for our own good. In case you haven't noticed, the people running this planet do not care about your own good. And that's not to say that climate is not changing. The only thing that is guaranteed in the world is change. However, there is no way that handing your government extra money for a carbon tax or not being able to eat meat or go on vacation is going to change anything when we have other countries that are not on board and ultra-rich flying around in their private jets and sailing in their mega yachts. The planet is literally billions of years old. It has been a giant ball of molten lava, and at other times it has been almost completely covered in ice. The climate changes naturally with or without modern human activity. Humans are basically a blink in the history of the planet. To think that forcing people to pay a carbon tax or switch to electric vehicles or take our ability to eat meat away is going to make any major changes is absolutely laughable, and it's being used as an excuse to expand government powers.